Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
All right, guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. Man, we've got him back. We've got Chase back. I swear, unless he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, he's not going to short circuit me this time. I've got my full tentacles on. But you know what I want to do is I want to touch on a subject that somebody asked me the other day. It was an amazing podcast. Mark England introduced me to these guys called 13 Questions.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of interesting questions. And I made it, you know me, I didn't look at the questions beforehand. And I made sure that the answers were not things that other people, I really liked that episode. It's one of my favorites. They're coming on the podcast. And they asked me a question. They said, what is it about the younger generation that you like? Because I know you coach a couple. And I said, the thing that I like the most, and I talked to 3 clients about this morning. They are not comfortable with just the status quo of 100K. Like, just because their job makes them 150K, they're like, this isn't good enough. I could tell you 4 people right now that make plenty of money and they're young and they're like, this can't be it. And so not an awakening, but just an unaccepting of, what's wild to me even more than that is when I grew up, 50K was a good salary.
Well,
like if you made 50K, it was like, damn, you're crushing the game.
I looked it up, and this was over a year ago now. I looked it up that 100K now, or about 18 months ago, 100K a year was the same as 60K a year in 2000.
Okay, there it is.
So yeah, like those numbers that we were all like, yeah, dude, 100K a year, like. When I was 13, my dad was making 200 before the airlines went in the shitter. Like, it was like, yeah, let's go. Now it's like, oh, cool. You make 200 a year. You can live. Like, you can do what you want. And you hit it on the head there, because some people could take this and be like, well, they're just hungry for more because they're not looking at it, or they actually know what the possibilities are.
Well, I say all that to say, I'm impressed, and this won't be released for a little while, but, you know, I'm impressed with people that are not, they're okay with saying, you know, this isn't good enough, or like, this is, and there's two ways you can, and I'm using it all for frameworks, how you like create, you know, your life the way that you want to, life by design. Mm-hmm. We were sold a story that when you're 60, then you get to go live your life. Like, that's what we were sold. Like, we're unpacking, like, you know, social norms. Well, nowadays, you know, I was talking to a client who wants me to come speak to kids, and he's like, what would be your message to them? And my message with them is, you can build up a set of skills on the side that can give you the freedom you need to do what you want to do. And so the question is like, if that's the case, then what are your fucking excuses? Like, your excuses are, I got to live near my parents, I got to do this, I got to do all that shit. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous.
Now, are they excuses? Who created the excuses though?
We did our own set of limiting beliefs. He looked at his goals, and he's like, I haven't touched these all year. This is a big goal. This means something to me. Mm-hmm. I said, well, if it means something to you, then you would have done something fucking about it.
Yes. I've been toying with that idea right there for a bit. If it means something to you, you would have done something about it. And
you know what's amazing when people, I'm sorry, this comes off a meeting. This is, you know what, to tie it into what you're probably going to bring up. I don't think the alignment of what's the most important thing in one's life or business, everybody's not on the same page. That comes off the back of a meeting today. Two co-owners saying, well, if I knew that was the most important, what do you think is the most important for the company right now? Revenue. So if you're not doing revenue generating tasks and you're building something that matters 2 years from now, what the fuck are you doing? It just realize how, like, and I'm talking about personally, I'm talking about professionally, like, what's the priorities in your life right now? Like Chase is about to have a kid. Like, what's the priority in Chase's life? I'm sure a lot leading up to that, right?
Yeah, a lot. And I like what you're saying there, because a lot of people, they go in on it with this, well, this is what I've told was important. This is what I've been told was important. This is what I should be chasing. And they think that the other thing is important, but that internal programming that they've taken on over decades and decades overrides their need to actually move forward in life.
Because at the end of the day, you have the opportunity to take a decision, choose it, say, yes, no, maybe, okay, I feel good about that. Like even the king of multitasking, this guy, me, is saying, okay, they can all align within the same vein. They can vertically integrate. But at its core, there's probably like 3 full-time, focus-driven things that you can need.
Yeah.
And like, that's it. And so like, here's the thing, team supported, they're happy, they're paid, their emotional needs are met, their supportive needs are met. That's like number 1. Am I traveling? Am I doing what I want to do? Am I eating well? Am I working out? There's another one. Okay. And then like behind all that is like, are we working towards something that matters to me? So like, those are the things. So if they don't fit in those buckets, I had a great friend of mine tell me, he says, there's 10 things I'll do. And I wrote them out. And this is family and business. If you fall in that bucket, I'll give you everything I got. If you're out of that bucket, you don't even exist to me.
Well, how many people can actually define their own values though? Right. To be able to create those things is what I feel it comes back to for a lot of people, because they don't know how to create those things. They don't know where their values lie. They've been bouncing around off piece to piece, and they haven't settled on anything for long enough to say, okay, this is my thing. This is what lights me up inside.
But this is the bigger correlation. They've tied their thing to a certain sector or a job.
Yeah.
Meaning your thing could be like, I help people. It doesn't say what you did. Like, that's where people get boxed. This is what I do. This is everything I do. Dude, Steve Harvey said, I heard him this morning, if I opened a tomato stand, it would be the best damn tomato stand you ever seen in your life.
I heard Aubrey Marcus and another gentleman talking about this recently. Like, not we need people in trades. We need people, and like, not this whole awakening is great. And there are going to be people working the jobs still. And how well can you say, okay, this is my thing. I have my fulfillment with my family. How well can you say, I'm going to do really well at building houses. I'm going to do really well at being a plumber. I'm going to make an art of my craft. That's unheard of.
Mike Rowe was interviewed by Ed Milet, and Mike Rowe was saying he has interviewed 1,000 people on dirty jobs. Yeah. And he goes, let me tell you something right now. Not one of those people were passionate about what they did when they got started, first. Second, 70% of them were millionaires. And he said, it's not that they fell in love with it or thought it was something they were going to do in their job. But as I get older, I look at my 20s, and my 20s was all about flash. What am I going to get credit for? What are people going to see me doing? Now, I'm pretty content with being a ghost. I don't want people knowing what I'm doing. I'm elevating people in front of me that are actually getting the praise, actually getting the thing. You know, and we're getting more towards the boring jobs. What's the things that are always going to be around? And I think that just comes in time in business. But I think if you could equate that to working out, eating well, consistency in your daily life.
Yeah, because on either one of those, in the early days, you may get obsessed with it, and then it just becomes the routine that you do. Mm-hmm. This is the thing that creates working out, then stops becoming the obsession, and it's the thing that you do that can create mobility and freedom in life. And your business stops becoming your obsession. And the obsession becomes, what can you do with what the business has created?
Well, this guy I listen to all the time, he says, when you first get that expensive car payment, for the first couple of months, it feels like a stretch. And then you just normalize it.
Yeah.
That's life. Like, that big goal sounds so crazy, but what would it look like if you just stretched to it and did it? Then you'd be 6, 7, a year, 3 years ahead of time. Right. And then ultimately, this is the other thing that on the back of this conversation that's driving me fucking crazy. And I just getting fired up this morning. Why do we allow others? Steve Harvey was telling a story about a teacher, a fucking teacher who was supposed to inspire young kids, told him that he would never amount to shit in his life. How are we letting these other people tell us we can't? How are we letting these other people inject their limiting beliefs into us? Because it's a lot easier for them. A lot of what I'm dealing with right now in my coaching, just so we're clear, this is like the common theme through almost not every client, but most clients. I'm growing, my spouse isn't. How can I get her to grow? I'm telling her to do this all day, and she's getting mad at me. First of all, stop that. Learn through divorce. Second of all, why she doesn't want you to grow anymore, because she feels like you're leaving her.
So this is a great story. One of my guys, because I've seen that where there's disconnecting relationships. I was on with him last week. I'm like, how often do you text her during the day while you're at work? Because he works super long hours. He's like, never. Like, send her 2 thoughtful texts tomorrow. Mm-hmm. He sent her those texts. The next day, he gets a random text from her while he's at work. He sent her 2 texts the day prior, just like, and I love you. And what's the highlight of your day?
Yep.
The next day, he gets a paragraph. I'm so sorry I haven't realized it. The healing work that you've been doing is amazing. Sorry it took me so long to give recognition for it. You're doing great things with our son. He's got a great father in you. Like, because when you stop trying to force growth on them and you just bring your growth to the table and open up a space, all of a sudden things just start to happen. Austin's rolling his eyes in the back of his head right now.
What did Omar say on our podcast that we did? Something about drag.
Oh man.
You either let go or you get dragged.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, dude, if that's not life, right? Because, use Mary as an example. Mm-hmm. The moment I'm telling you, I could show you the text thread. 8:00 at night, the night before, I finally let go, Austin, of the vine. Whatever will be. I trust you and your team.
Yeah.
9:00 at 6 a.m. The property goes on the market. We get it in contract 5 hours later for her future life.
You really want to go down the mystical giant rabbit hole like that?
I mean, come on.
If you are resisting in your life in any way, shape, or form, it will show up. And how many clients? Mary is the most recent, coolest example of that in the last couple months, right? How many clients have we seen that with across the board in both of our personal coaching with the company, where as soon as they let go and stop fighting and lead into the process, accept that the journey is the reward, all of a sudden things just start happening.
I told this to Corey, and I mean it wholeheartedly. And y'all will find, we're making some shifts. It's a new season for us moving into next year, all good stuff. But the moment that we're headed towards the end of the year, I knew 2 weeks into my coaching. Yeah. 2 weeks into my coaching, I sit there and go, "Oh, this isn't it. Like, this isn't the end." And I already heard from some high level guys that, like, "Hey man, like, if you want to do it at scale, you're going to have to switch. You're going to have to go." And I was like, fuck you. Like, how can I get upset with this money, this freedom? Like of course, the young whippersnapper.
There's freedom, but you're on a computer for 10 hours a day.
But it's like, you have to give up good to go to great. Mm-hmm. You have, and here's the deal. And I'll just be 100% frank. If you're chasing the next best version of yourself at all times, it's exhausting. It hurts. It's annoying as fuck. And there's a lot of days, I'm just being as real as I can be. There's a lot of days where I wish I could just be normal. There's a lot of days where I wish I could just be a great salesman. I really do. Because I'd be a fucking great salesman, working 50 hours a week, making fucking multiple six figures, and I wouldn't want to lead people and create multiple businesses. Like I pray for that sometimes.
People don't talk about that enough, man. Like how many entrepreneurs are out there looking back at the people at 9-to-5s and like being and having a unique appreciation for the security and
you know what'd be even better? Do you know what'd be even better? To get a fucking loan. How about trying to get some fucking credit, a car, a house? Good luck. This is the shit they don't talk about in entrepreneurship.
Only reason I'm in the house I'm in is because my wife has a decent 9-to-5. Only reason.
All these guys, before they're getting started in real estate, they go, I'm going to quit. Whoa, cowboy.
Yeah.
Get as many loans as you can before you fucking go, because you're not going to be able to get one after that.
Yeah. How about that? And that's how many people get into the journey seeing only the hustle porn and the entrepreneur Instagram pages and think that's what it's going to be.
You know what sucks, guys? And I'm happy to do it because I have that part of me and I can handle it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Go fire somebody.
Yeah.
Like seriously. Go make tough financial decisions, right? I'm not trying, dude, I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I love what I do and I'll do it for the rest of my life. But I'm over Instagram and this bullshit saying this shit is fucking easy. It's hard. It's stressful, but it's also rewarding as fuck in the same context. When I saw that picture of the girls today, I got emotional. I got emotional because I'm looking at a happy faces of 4 women, and who brought them together? We did. What brought them together? A great project. But more importantly, what brought them together is their own belief in themselves.
That one right there. Because that shit's magnetic. That will end up putting them in the room where they're all together. If you don't have that belief in yourself, you'll never end up in the room, whether you walk into it or you get put into it.
And ultimately, I'm on the backside of all my things. I said how bad it was. You have to gain that courage and that fortitude before you walk into the room.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think that, man, I was born for something greater than whatever it is that I'm doing right now. And you could be doing the greatest thing that you want. I'm talking about if you make, plaques better than anybody, if you build furniture, I don't give a shit, whatever that is, but there's something out there that you're not doing currently that you've dreamed of doing forever. Don't wait till it's too late, because at least when it's your decision, you can also put it down in the same token. And I think that's what's really cool, is that you can turn it off and turn it back on whenever you want. The number one issue, and I tell everybody, I've been saying this for years, the number one issue, if I quit everything else I was doing and just studied one topic for the rest of my life, it's very simple. As a type A or entrepreneurs, can you turn off your flame and turn it back on?
Yes.
I could study that for the rest. No, because I would say that most of type A personalities believe that if they slow down, they'll lose their juice.
They believe, and slowing down will reignite that flame. I think a lot of type A's are running around with their flame running on fumes. The fire's gone. It's hot, but it's coals, and that's it. And it's just sitting there simmering. Mm. And if they slowed down and took time to go get more wood, put it on the fire, go recharge, they'd be burning brighter than ever.
Agreed. So ultimately, that can look like so many different things for so many different people. It could be, a day out on a boat with your friends. It could be a hike. It could be whatever the hell it could be.
Yeah.
The thing that I love about entrepreneurship / maddening at the same time is that I can work when I want to, Because there's some days where, man, like just a good Saturday morning sesh of like 2 hours of some paperwork, just, some stuff you got to do, move some money around, scheduling some things, and then go out and enjoy the rest of the day. Man, there's some freeing shit when it comes to that. I think we put ourselves in boxes,
I enjoy the work that I have penciled in to do every Sunday. Like I get done with my meal prep. I have like 60 minutes of work every Sunday. And then I check out. I'm done. I take my ice bath and it's family time for the rest of the day.
And so I will say that lately, and maybe, trends are shifting. I would say maybe I just don't attract them anymore. But the people that are putting in, 70, 80 hours a week, I haven't seen that as much lately. Maybe I just haven't tried to look at it. But I definitely feel like in the same vein, there are people that what I've seen more than anything is they fill up their time with little things to try to cover anxiety of the bigger things. Like I have a client who loves to fill his time up with little menial tasks that he shouldn't be doing. And that's mainly just to fill up his own anxiety that he's not moving forward.
Yeah. A lot of people are scared of the quiet because that's where it gets the loudest. And if you can sit with the quiet in whatever form that is, a day out on the boat with the family, a hike, whatever, just putting work down for 4 hours and not having the TV on either. But don't just go check out in front of the TV. Let your thoughts come up and see what's honestly in there. Because guess what? It might kind of sort of be worth looking at.
90% of the time it is worth looking at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we can't live with the status quo being the end all be all. We can't live with the boats and the trucks and the house and the cars. We can't live with that being the reason that we're doing it in the first place.
No, because a lot of those things, the boats and the trucks and the house and the car, are another way to quiet the noise. They're another piece to distract us. And they're enjoyable. So personally, I was on a tear the last 2 years. I'm like, I'm never going to have any toys. I don't want any toys. They're a big distraction. And now I've managed to get back to cultivating my peace. And I'm like, yeah, when the time's right, I'll have a toy or 2 or 4, and how can you use those in balance? Can you take the enjoyment that you feel out of those and carry it all the way through into life? And I think a lot of people forget that, right? They're like, well, my life sucks, but at least I have this Corvette. I can go drive it for an hour a week. That makes my life worth it.
Mm-hmm. There's millions of people that live at the beach, but don't live at the beach.
Oh. Now, if they only had a wakeboard boat, though.
Hey, no, that's a sensitive subject for me. It's the only thing I care about. But what I'm saying is, how many people live in the mountains but don't live in the mountains?
Yeah.
How many people live at the lake but don't live at the lake? I know I was guilty of it in my younger days, living in Colorado, not even realizing the beauty.
I heard it coined yesterday. That was talking about meditation. You could take this into life, a lifeguard mentality, where sometimes a juvenile lifeguard will miss the kid drowning in the riptide because he sees 2 attractive women on the beach and just staring at that. Or he sees somebody doing something and he's staring at that as opposed to looking at everything, standing on the tower and just having an objective view of what's going on. And when you can leave those little minute distractions aside and sit on your tower and take in the whole beach or take in all the mountains and all the pieces there, then we can truly live in the mountains.
This pertains to being a CEO. And I talk about this all the companies, these sales guys are like, this person over here, this 4th in command, 6th in command is telling me what to do. Right. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm saying, yeah. And you don't see the 17 conversations we're having behind this to set up this meeting with this meeting to portray something this way. There's 9 layers of conversations going behind. If we make this decision, what's that going to happen over there?
Yep.
Right. And that's the same thing in life. If I say this or I schedule that, Like I pride myself in one thing. I pride myself in a lot of things, but the thing that I fought for the hardest. This is everything for me. There are no I don't want to's on my schedule. It took me 3 years.
A lot of people will read the book Essentialism and still not fully understand that, or any other book with that same message. Yeah. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And they continue compromising in life. They don't even make the effort to do it over 3 years, right? They're sitting there like, oh yeah, that's a great book. Okay, cool. 5 years later, they have yet to integrate anything. And there's this I think that speaks to a larger paradigm of there's this over intake of podcasts and books and this and that. And how many people actually integrate any of this stuff?
I've done something different these days. Taking a book or a podcast that I like, and I'm listening to it 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
I'm talking about back to back. I'm talking about listen to it, wait 2 months, listen to it again. And what I'm realizing is like, there's a seminar. It's one of the greatest wealth seminars, like fucking 10 hours. And I'm listening to it the second time. And it's like these little bitty things that you pick up here and there. And I don't agree with everything he's saying, but I understand his mindset behind it. And then you talk about the health insurance company. Right now, for the next month, I'm studying everything about the American healthcare system. Oh. So that'll, yeah, exactly. Down a rabbit hole and a half. Yeah. So what I'm saying is I owe it to the company that I'm supporting to understand why, I already know why we're doing it, but I really want to know why we're doing it. And so what I found is every time you revisit these things, there's more, it's more of a layering on. And the thing is, what people don't understand, this is something that's super important. My breakthroughs came 2 months, 3 months after the information hit me.
Yeah.
My finally releasing my parents' divorce came 3 months later after I heard the words that I heard.
Yeah.
3 months. It's not going to happen overnight. But sitting with that and walking. I've only heard this explained once before in my life. I heard it one time on a Gary Vee interview with a guy that I actually like who was on $1 Million Listing. It's really odd that he said it. Yeah. I almost fell over when he said it because it's the first time I felt this way, never heard it. You and I are talking right now, and my consciousness is standing next to me at all times. When I'm in a conversation with 16 people, my consciousness is staying next to me. Somebody gives me some feedback, Austin, blah, 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 blah. I find it to be constructive, and I'm fixing right then. You know what my ex-business partner said about me, my first business I was ever in? We give you constructive feedback at 7 o'clock at night, and at 9 in the morning, it's already changed. Like, here's the thing. Okay, yes, don't, like, maybe. And when I get done with the day, I'll take like 45 minutes and I'll replay the day in my head. Okay, that's the thing. Blah, blah, blah. Like, are you doing that? Or are you just kind of getting through the meetings? Are you in survival mode or are you in integration mode?
Most people are in survival mode, like 98% of people. What you just said there, to actually run your own game tape back and look at it and try your best to have this objective look of where can I learn? Where can I move better? Where did I do well? People are too scared to do that, man, because that requires taking an honest look at yourself. And then you start realizing that truth isn't actually truth. It's just all the stories that you've created for yourself.
You know what I told Corey today? I had a revelation. You know why I moved on so quickly after me getting sober for alcohol and didn't give myself credit? I realized it this morning. Because I always know I should have been sober. I always knew there was greatness inside of me and I was dampening it down. And so when I finally flipped the switch, I was like, oh, yeah, sounds about right. I finally realized that made, it's like, okay, yeah, you always knew what to do. And I go back to this same thing. The most interesting topic on the planet right now for me is, do we read books or listen to podcasts to learn, or are we listening to books and podcasts to confirm what we already know?
It's
God,
both.
that's a fucking 4-hour conversation right there.
It is, because like I'm reading King, Warrior, Magician, Lover about the 4 masculine archetypes, right? And I start reading it and I have this like what did I time travel? Because I've never read anything like this in depth from Jungian psychologists about these archetypes. And they're saying things that thoughts that I've organically created for myself in this book. I'm like, did my consciousness time travel, or is this just really in line with the experiences I've had?
Perfect example. I have a photographic memory, especially with music. Like, I mean, I could sing Rockin' Robin word for word. Yet I've never actually heard the song when I've been old enough to understand I was listening to the song. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I've never heard the song when I've been old enough to know that song was on. Yet when the song hit, I could sing every word.
Okay.
And so the question is, you talk to a lot of guys that have been successful or they're farther along in their career, and they talk about how when they were 12 or 10 and their parents took them to a party and they were talking to adults, or they went to a seminar. I have a mentor who went to a seminar as a 13-year-old, and he picked up a lot of stuff from there. And so it's like, are things washing over us? Are we always, is our subconscious and our consciousness, is it always taking in information? And does that book, right? Does that book find you right when it needs you? Does that podcast, does that song, I'm a king. It's sitting in the song right when the person needs to hear it. Or is your shit wanting to hear that song?
This is a rabbit hole, man. And I think we could find supporting evidence for either side of it, right? I'd imagine for some people, I'd imagine there's a line there of people who are using it to confirm things that they want to believe about themselves, and that, people who are quieting the noise with things that confirm their beliefs that they want to believe. And there are others who, and I'm sure we all have a bit of both, right? And there are also situations where you've called it in. You've been on this path, and this thing came to you at the right time.
Mm-hmm. The number one thing that I did when I started this podcast was I've made myself a promise. I can't control how you hear what I say or when you hear it.
No.
But it'll always be there. And so this conversation might not hit anybody in the next month or two, but 5 years from now, it might be exactly what somebody needs.
That's just because we're ahead of the times.
Well, it's funny. When I'm ever in a bad spot, and I haven't done it recently, I probably should. I listened to the first episode I ever did with Omar. And I'm like, oh, that guy, he's so young and cute. Like he was just wide-eyed and running Mach 97. And it's taken me many years to get comfortable with this old, let's say older and wiser years, more calm, still fighting the calm me, because people like the charged up me. I'm still living in both worlds.
Yeah.
Still living in the life of the party / don't want to really be the life of the party anymore. One of the greatest things my old business partners, they said about me, they said, here's the deal with Austin. When he really makes it, like holy shit makes it, there's about 3 things that are going to happen. 1, he's going to disappear and nobody's ever going to hear from him again.
Yep.
2, Hollywood true story. Or 3, he's going to disappear for 6 months and then come back with 1,000 ideas.
Yeah, that third one. It might be like 2 years too. And by the time you hit that recharge button, there's just going to be like 10 things that organically happen.
Well, I think this is a conversation that everybody needs to hear. And I want everybody to perk up their fucking ears. Okay. Because you think that you're any different than all these guys that I know that make 10, 20, $30 million. Okay. So I want everybody to perk up their ears. You know what we talk about when I talk to those guys all the time? The same thing we talk about with every single one of them. It's the only thing we fucking talk about. As much as they want all the things, they want none of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to understand that they're fighting it just as hard as you're fighting it every fucking day. And they don't need to do this. They don't need more money. and they already spend great time with their kids and they're already a present father, but something inside of them cries out for more, cries out for impact, cries out for something that they have to do. But by you stamping it down, by you not walking in your path and your truths and your greatness, you're not giving the universe what it needs. So you're being selfish. And so don't think you're going to wake up feeling all great and joyous every day. There's some days where it's a fucking chore to get through. And I don't even have kids. So God bless my women and men who have kids who fight through a tough day and then go home, and guess what? Your child doesn't give a shit if you had a tough day. They just want to spend time with their parents.
Yep. That's an interesting paradox. The individuals that have it and don't want it, and it's few and far between that you actually hear about that. You think that these guys want to be out there running the grind because they have it. Like, obviously they built it. That must be what they want. And I'm so glad you brought that up for the listeners, because do you want it? How much freedom do you want to create, and how much can you create freedom by adjusting your lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. This is my hack, right? You're telling me that you're all in. You're saying that your business is maxed out. That's what you're telling me. That's what 90% of the people tell me. Oh, dude, I'm maxed out. Business is the best that it could ever be. Okay. Run the business in 3 days a week. Let's get spicy. All right. You think your shit's so streamlined and you're so great, run it in 3 days. And then be the other version of yourself the rest of the time. Well, I mean, I don't, there's this and no, that's not what I asked. Alex Ramosi said, oh, you think you're all in? Try running your business in 4 days. Try run it in 2 days. Now, those might be longer days, but at least you're going to get the freedom that you're seeking. You have not experienced this podcast, so I'll tell you the story. But it was almost fall out of your chair shit, because my boy that we're interviewing next week, you'll get a little bit of this when we interview him. It's me, Anthony, and Omar. And Omar's talking about how he has Jewish clients, and every year for 3 weeks straight out of the year, he has no clients because 90% of his clients are Jewish. So he has all this, he's still making money.
Yeah.
But he has all this free time. And he starts freaking out. Like, he's like, am I a bad coach? I'm like, no, your clients are just on holiday. Like, what the fuck, But like all these things creep in, idle hands. So he said one morning he's going crazy and he's like, what would it look like? What would it look like if I took the dog for a walk this morning and had breakfast with my wife and just like spent time with her for an hour or two, and then I got to work? Like, what would that look like? And Omar was like, man, that was so great. He goes, man, I really hope that I take more opportunities to do that. He goes, when the opportunity's there, I'll take it. And Anthony looks at him dead in the face and goes, or was the opportunity always there and you didn't choose it? And Omar just falls out of the back of his fucking chair.
That's it. That's it right there. People miss that because there's a whole rabbit hole there, and because they're taught that the grind is the way to fulfillment. Go sit in a building for 8 hours a day and do what you're told. Get the good report card, get good reviews. You'll get elevated because of that. You'll go on to a higher, better spot. And oh, by the way, the family, that's just checking boxes so you can create more tax revenue for the government. But
okay. Woo! All right. Let's stamp down that. That's it's like talking about the school system. Yeah. No comment.
You're gonna tiptoe right around that.
Well, I love this. So we're gonna end it there. People want to follow you. They want to see where you're at. How will they do that?
Well, man, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not following me yet, where are you at? And at coach_Chase_Tolleson on Instagram. That's where we're the most active. And ChaseTolleson.com. Sign up for my emails. I send cool stuff.
And if you want to check both of us out, go to thecompanyconsulting.com.
Yes.
Doing it, crushing it. Can't wait.
That one's going to be,
folks.
That one's going to be more active next year than that's where you'll find me 2023.
Yeah, it's a movement, folks. Well, if y'all got some value from this, send it to your friends. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.